This video is part of the What Would You Make challenge. I'll tell you a little bit more about it after the first project. I chose to make home decor using the letters F-A-L-L. Project number 1, hanging fall letters. I'm using these 4, you call them slats, some burnt umber, some paint, some wood letters, some orange ribbon, and then those burlap leaves with a little bit of orange pip berries on a garland. So I'm going to go in on these little palettes and paint in between. And that way you don't have to worry about filling it in after. I'm just going to use a baby wipe to wipe that burnt umber paint on the actual slats now. And you can make it as dark or as light as you want. You know, if you accidentally make one too dark and you can't wipe it off, then just make the rest of them darker. It's a pretty easy process, and do the exact same thing with all 4 palettes. And I go over it with my heat dryer. I want everything to be nice and dry before we continue on with the next step. So I've had these burlap leaves for a while. Definitely not this year, maybe last year, and maybe even the year before. I really don't truly 100% remember. I just kind of did a little trial and error here to see which way I liked best. And I decided like the horizontal way, so they're wider across. And then I did the leaves one way and the other, one way and the other. I slathered on some Mod Podge, and I wanted there to be a lot because the burlap really does soak up that Mod Podge. And then again, I'm going to do another really heavy coat over top of the burlap leaf. And it kind of ends up looking like a hot mess at first. But once everything dries, it looks like totally fine. That's what it looks like. And I'll do the exact same thing for all 4. Then I'm coming over it. It's kind of tacky right now, not all the way dry. And I decided to go over it with my Hippo heat press and some parchment paper. And then I let it sit until it was truly dry. Then I just put some Mod Podge on the back of these letters. I'm really, really low on usable paint sticks because I got the wrong kind. And I've neither gone back to return them nor purchased a new package. So I just used the Mod Podge to attach the wood letters, and that worked fine. And I left the letters that blonde color because I was worried if I rubbed the burnt umber into them like I did with the slats that they'd be too dark and they wouldn't pop. So here I am going over it again with my Hippo heat press and some parchment paper. I kind of did around the letter, and then just at the end there, I ran it across the wood letter a couple of times. And then I waited till the Mod Podge was like totally dry before I trimmed the edges of those leaves that went over. Now I'm going to use that orange, I guess you could call it orange buffalo check or orange plaid ribbon. I think maybe the best way to do this is to use 2 ribbons. I was sort of going by the seat of my pants here, so I started in the middle of the first one and pulled it down and used a marker to space it. But I noticed it was a little flimsy, so if I had to go back, I'd use more staples and probably 2 pieces of ribbon or smaller pieces of ribbon, that didn't go all the way down. So like a piece for the F and the A piece for the A and the L, etc., etc. Just making a awareness shaped bow, scrunching it in the middle, wrapping some twine around it, nice tight bow on the back. I pulled the bottom strands off to each side. Normally I do the tails of my bow down straight, but it would have covered the letter. And then I just used this pipberry garland as a handle and put a little bit of hot glue on the back as it was moving around a little too much. And better look at the final reveal. Jumping in with a little bit more information about the playlist. It happens every month. It's hosted by Brenda from Rustic and Lace DIY and Christine from DIY Craftaholic. This month's guest host is Barbara from Country Lily DIY Decor. Their channel links and a link to the playlist will be in my description box below. Make sure to check them out as well as the rest of the creators in this playlist, and sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the video. Project number 2, Dice Fall Letters. Here's our second idea of how to use the fall letters to create a piece of decor. And we're starting with these foam dice. I made sure they were all pretty even. And then I just go in with the blue chalk paint. I just do like the top half, let it dry, then paint the rest and let it dry. I did do 2 pretty thick coats, and even then there was a few places where I could see some of the dots poking through, but there was enough going on that it detracted from it. And this chalk paint looks much lighter wet than it does dry. So there are spots where some of the blue pokes through the darker blue that I painted it. Now we're going to just use this Oops paint from Lowe's and give a good thick coat to this crate. I wanted to use sunflowers for the fall theme, but you'll see what I ended up doing. That's why I painted the crate white, because I wanted to decoupage a napkin on it. So I got the paint on there and I got it nice and dry. And I'm just using these poster letters from Dollar Tree. They used to have just black poster letters and pretty plain and really thick. These colored poster letters are just a bit smaller, and also they have more curve to the bottom and the top edges. And I really like the shape of them, so I went ahead and used these. I'm just using a sponge dauber, and I put together some coral and some vintage yellow to make this sort of orange. And I wish I had kept it more yellow, because then I could have used my sunflower napkin, but such was not to be. I went ahead and finished each dice with the orange that I created. And then I just look for like a raised spot on the sticker. I let it get tacky but not totally dry before I pull the letters off. I start them with the pokey tool, and then I just use my fingers. Now I'm using some of that burnt umber acrylic paint to do a little distress on the crate. And then I decided on this napkin because it had some blue in it, like the blue in the letters. And I'm just going to use my school glue stick and just press this piece of napkin down on it. I've already removed the 2 plies from the back. This is just the top ply. And I do a rough cut around it and then use some sandpaper to finish it off. So this becomes the stand for the letters. And I'm going to pop a sunflower on top of the F and a few fall leaves. And then you'll get a better look at this during the final reveal. Project number 3, Fall Peat Pots. I used these peat pots in a previous video. They're not actually peat pots, or some kind of wood, but people know them as peat pots, so that's what I'm going with. So I have 4 peat pots for the 4 letters in the word fall, and I have this sort of MDF sign thing for dogs, and Dollar Tree will often have them for the seasons, or for cats, you know. So I just scraped off the UPC code here, and then I sanded a little bit because there was some residue left over. And I like the sanding paper rather than like a finger sander or a sanding sponge. It's just a personal preference. Using that same blue chalk paint. I wasn't too concerned with making it like a really good coat. I haven't really roughed up a lot of the stuff in this video, so I just kind of slathered this stuff on, not really paying attention to getting full coverage. And you'll see I have the letters set out there on the bottom, F-A-L. I'm not sure where the letters came from. It's just the alphabet with a slightly sticky back, but I stored them on like a glossy piece of paper, and they stuck so well when I tried to remove them. Parts of the paper came up, and that's why you'll see sort of like a light blue color on them. So I'm just going to tape them on with my painter's tape. First I wanted to get like a yellow or blue color on there. I decided that the yellow color would look best. Even though it's fall, I wanted these pots to pop. And these particular pots don't have like a rim on them, so I always like to create one using paint. So I just didn't bring the yellow paint all the way up. I did it the same way with all 4 and used my heat gun to make sure they were totally dry. And again, I'm using a foam dabber. I taped the letter F there. And then I use that same paint to dab on top of the letter. And I just took it off right away, and whew, it looks great. I was still worried the letter stencil was going to move, but it came out really nice. I momentarily lost my letter L, so I made one with one of the other letters I had, and of course found the letter L when I was all done here. I'm using some of my precious hot glue to adhere the pots to the little stand here that I created. And then I just did all 4, and I wanted to glue them so we didn't have to worry about them falling off or whatever. And I just cut up one of my floral foam pieces that I got from Temu. Then I got some of these yellow flowers from the local thrift store, but I also had a couple bags with random fall flowers, so I'm just going through them trying to create a pattern. And at first I had the 3 sunflowers, and I realized I couldn't find a 4th one that was that same size or that same color. So I ended up doing the 2 sunflowers in the middle and then the yellow flowers on either end there. And then I had a bunch of different fall colored leaves. I really like those purple ones. So I popped those in on the end and then used those fiery yellow and red ones for the middle. And I can't wait to work more with the leaves. I'll be going out and getting leaves. It's like the one thing I'll get new for the fall season. Here's what it looks like. I decided to add some of the Spanish moss. I find Spanish moss has a good fall vibe to it. So I went ahead and popped some in there, and you'll get a better look at the final reveal.